Hello, movie patient, and welcome to Film Therapy. I am your film therapist, Miss Movies, also known as Brienne. I'm not a actual real therapist, but I play one on the internet, or I pretend to play one on the internet. And I just want to say that we have a special guest on Film Therapy this session, session 2, and that guest is Hector Navarro. You may have
Hello.
been able to see him.
Hi. I didn't realize. I
Hi.
think I'm dressing up as John Roca. I didn't even realize I'm
What?
wearing the same. Did he do like a plaid number? And he's so big and buff, and I'm gonna try to,
Yes.
do that thing. Hi, Brian.
Hi.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining
Of
me.
course. So excited to be here. Very, very excited. Yeah. I'm sorry. You were doing
Oh,
the intro.
yes, this is Film Therapy. Here's what we do on the show. I'll tell you a little bit about it, and then we'll have Hector introduce himself for those that may not know who Hector is, which I am pretty doubtful that anyone watching doesn't know who you are, but we'll just, for anyone that's a first time watcher of the show,
Thank you.
we will let them know. Okay,
Mhm.
so this is a storytelling show about film. What I do is I ask the patient, you're my patient for today. I ask them 3 questions about film. The first question is, what's a film that inspires you? The second one is, what's a film or a scene from a film that triggers a memory for you, perhaps painful? And what is a film that has helped you through difficult times? So I ask the same questions to each patient and hope that they will go into depth about those answers.
Yeah.
So that's what we do here.
Great.
And yes, Hector, thank you for being the second person
So
on the
excited.
show. And Hector, tell us a little bit about yourself while I try to attempt to pull up the chat for
You
this so
you
we can
got it.
see what you guys are doing.
I'm the number one fan of Mr. John Roca. He is the best in the biz.
Good.
No, I am okay. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I had to justify why I do this kind of stuff, like months and months and months ago, on a show that I hosted at Geek and Sundry on their Twitch channel that was called The Concession Stand. It's like about movies, because somebody once popped into that chat room and was like, why are you guys talking? Who are you? Why should I
Hmm.
listen to you? And I'm just being reminded of it because last night we did like a highlight reel of a bunch of different stuff, because last night was the last episode. We've been doing it for a year and a half. So the thing I said on that was, I went to school for film. I went specifically animation, and I have a degree in media arts and animation. I guess, and I have loved movies, and especially cartoons and animated movies, since I was a little kid. And I was inspired by stuff when I was a kid. I grew up in San Diego. First generation born in the United States. My parents are both from
Wow.
Mexico, and they came to Mexico when they were like high school, and then a little bit after high school. My mom came a little bit after high school. My dad was in high school. So I'm first generation born in the U.S., born and raised in San Diego. Came to LA a couple years ago for work, because after I got out of that animation school, film school, I got a job working in a post production studio house. We're working on movies and stuff. So I guess I have a degree. I don't know why it seems snarky that I'm like justifying why I am doing this stuff. I've also loved comics since I was 5, and was like an expert, and have lived and breathed in that world and all of those ridiculously obscure facts since I was a wee boy. So especially now, because anything anybody cares about is superhero movies, I'm kind of valuable. People will ask me to,
Right.
yeah, now it's cool.
This is your time,
I
Hector.
remember, just a quick story before we start. I remember in high school, the first Spider-Man film came out in 2002. I was in high school. In 2002, I went to go see that movie, and I will never forget that movie going experience, sitting in the theater, and then the credits came up, and the Danny Elfman music, and this is my favorite characters, my favorite thing since I was 5 years old, and I'm like, 14 or 15 or something watching this. And I went to school that following Monday, and in my math class, 2 girls behind me, 2 women in my high school math class, were talking about Peter Parker and Mary Jane, and I was like, the world has changed.
You're like,
The world has changed. And I didn't talk to them. I didn't have a conversation, but like I was like, everybody now knows the thing I have known and
Mhm.
the thing I love, and now like they're at least in on it, and
Right.
people and now understand why I love the stuff that I love. So you guys are already saying really cool, nice things. I love the brightly colored mics. Cool, 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 cool.
Yes.
Um, you're
Almost
also
matches my outfit.
thanks you,
Almost. Very
Jack. Thanks.
close.
Yes, and I no, not at
Well,
all.
it goes though. It goes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, so that I don't know. I love movies. I love cartoons and comic books, and I'll elaborate further with one of the stories I'm going to tell
Okay, great.
as an answer to one of the questions.
Wow. All right. I've learned a lot about you. And I actually, when I first met you, when we were on movie games together, and you guys killed it.
Oh, that was rough.
And
Quick, name a Jamie Foxx movie.
ah, uh, no, I'm just kidding. Like, let's go to Django Unchained alongside of Leonardo
There it is.
DiCaprio.
Look at that. See?
Look how cool, calm, and collected I can be. But after that, I like looked you guys up
Mhm.
as one does,
Mhm.
and I saw
Same.
your
Sure.
credits on IMDb, and I was
Yeah.
like, "How old is Hector?"
Oh yeah, you're like, you worked on Shrek and Shrek
Wait a
2?
minute. Are
How
you like a prodigy? Did you do this in high school? Like I didn't know.
I worked on Shrek and Shrek 2 because and I didn't a little bit of Shrek 3 I think too because in 2010 when I was a few years out of high school or college rather, and I had my degree and I was working in my job down in San Diego,
Mhm.
DreamWorks converted those films into 3D versions of those films, and I think the reason is because like they were from 2000 and a little bit afterwards, and they decided to keep it all in house, made by the same people, but they didn't have some of the original like files of Shrek 1 where they
Mhm.
could just go into the computer, add a second camera to create the 3D effect, because that's how you get 3D is you do two cameras just like two eyeballs and go in there and do that. Whereas they were
Nice.
working on Shrek 4 at the time, and they're like, that's in 3D, or that came out in 3D because it's a current. Anyway, they need so yeah, in my IMDb I have like Shrek 1 and 2 listed as like I did post production on that. I did
Yeah.
3D conversion on it.
And you were like 15.
Yeah, I was exactly. I was like
when
12
that
or
came out. And I'm
13
like,
when
what?
when Shrek came out. Exactly. Yeah. 14 somewhere in there. So, yeah, thank you for stalking me. I did the same thing.
Yes.
Great.
And then I immediately was like, hold on, can you tell me more?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you have to know where people are coming from.
Mhm.
I like to get a full picture of people.
Every person brings their entire life to every movie that they watch. When people get frustrated that people have opinions about movies that don't line up with theirs, it's like, you're not my life, you're not my experience, you're not.
Right.
A very controversial movie was that Superman Batman superhero thing that came out this year,
Right.
and I did a review on it online, and I started with, the first thing you got to know is I am so saddened that I didn't love this probably how you did. And the other thing you got to know is that you don't have the same life experience, memories, like values, everything that I have experienced in my life is like brought to every movie. No matter how bad we want to just watch something in a vacuum and be unbiased and be like, okay, I'm
Right.
just going to
It's
judge it.
just
You can't, because you're bringing your
can't.
life.
Right.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into our first question for
Great.
film therapy today. And
Great.
that question is, what is a film that inspires you?
Let's get right into it. I saw this movie when it came out in theaters, but it didn't have an effect on me the way that it does now, because I've been revisiting it, and that is the movie Castaway.
Oh,
Robert Zemeckis directed Castaway.
yes.
I'm pretty sure it was Zemeckis, and I
It was.
watch it all the time. Every time I am sad, every time I get a little bit depressed, every time I need to be reminded what life is about, that movie reminds me what life is about, and it's 2 hours. And the other thing that reminds me what life is about is the show Lost, which I really like a lot, but that's 6 seasons. I can't watch,
Right.
and if I watch the finale, it doesn't have the same effect as watching 6 seasons of that, and then you watch the finale, and then I feel
Right.
like I'm reminded what life is about in that finale. But both things deal with people on islands. But Castaway is special because I went to go see it with my dad, and I remember liking it in Wilson, and I got it. And then I revisited it years later on video, and I realized that the film is a very obvious metaphor for just surviving and living life. And the thing that I take away from it all the time, and is, first of all, I'm lucky that I don't really suffer from anxiety. I don't really suffer from depression. I was so blown away. I'm so happy that you and John talked about mental health issues, that you and John talked about having suicidal thoughts in the first episode. And so many people deal with that. So many people in my life have dealt with that. People that I've loved have dealt with that and dealt with anxiety. And I'm so blessed. And I realized how blessed I am that just chemically I'm just wired
Right.
where I don't have to deal with that as much. I'm
Mhm.
so blessed about that. I try not to take that for granted. I also am a pretty good sleeper, and it sucks because I know a lot of people in my life are like, "God,
Oh,
I hate you, man." I'm like, I can kind of sleep anywhere, and I have a good solid 8, and I'm good to go.
I
I
wish. That would be
know.
great. Oh,
I don't have kids yet, so maybe that'll change once I have kids. Yeah,
let me interrupt you for
please.
just a minute because I did forget to say at the beginning of the show that I'm not a therapist in real life, and neither is Hector. We
You
are not
said it. You
doctors.
said it, but we can.
But I do want to
Yeah,
let you know if you are having a problem that you do need to call your doctor or go to the hospital or call 911. So
please
please do that.
reach out, like you said in the first episode. There is oftentimes a large amount of time that passes between saying I need help and when you receive help.
Right.
And it is very very important to take care of yourself and to seek out professional help. And
Right.
yeah, so back to Castaway, I watched this movie now, and I realized at the end of the film, Tom Hanks's character goes to Helen Hunt, and he can't be with her. And he
Right.
says, "You are the love of my life," and she's moved on and she has a life. And he kisses her and he has to drive away. And he goes to his friend's house, the other friend who's in the film, kind of barely. He goes to his friend's house and his friend is just blurry in the background, and it's just Tom Hanks like holding a drink with some ice in it, talking about
Mhm.
his experience on the island as the camera's panning around him. And Tom Hanks is saying that I tried to commit suicide. I tried to kill myself on the island because I realized that that was the one thing that I could control in this otherwise situation where I wasn't controlling anything. And you
Right.
know me, I had to set it up. I had to test it. And he got this log that was this heavy log, and he wrapped it up to the rope that he found on the highest tree, on the highest peak, and it fell and it snapped because of the weight, and then it was there on the rocks. And he was saying I couldn't even to do this the way that I wanted to do this. I had no control over this either. And I realized that the thing that you have to do is survive. You have to survive. You have to keep going. And every day was just an exercise in him surviving, literally surviving. It's a metaphor for what we go
Right.
through in our lives, obviously. And it oftentimes just feels like just getting by and just surviving. And he also says that you have to survive because you don't know what tomorrow will bring. You don't know what the tide will bring. And again, earlier in the movie, he's there, he's on the beach, he's on the water. We don't know what he's going through, but we also know what he's going through. And all of a sudden, the tide just brings in that piece of the porta potty that says Bakersfield on it. Bakersfield, Bakersfield. And he freaks out and is able to escape. That is his, that was the thing he was waiting for that would allow him to build the mechanism for him to leave this place. And it's such an obvious metaphor, but tomorrow you don't know what the tide will bring. And I love that, and I take that with me no matter what I'm going through, no matter what happens in my life. It is terrifying and it is exciting. Things constantly change. I try to do things that scare me. I had an
Mhm.
opportunity to do something for work this weekend, and it was so intimidating and daunting and scary that I went, I am going to do this. I have to do this because it's so terrifying.
Right.
But I think that that message of you don't know what tomorrow will bring is similar to what John Rocca was saying about It's a Wonderful Life. It's similar to um I don't know. And then at the end of the film, again, even though he cannot be with the love of his life, Helen Hunt, the movie hints at the fact that he is going to end up with this woman who, like him, likes Elvis, who has
Mhm.
this ranch in Texas, who he delivered the mail to, the package that he held on to.
Right.
So it's very much like, oh, well, good for him. What a happy ending. Of course, right. It's all very obvious. It's really cheesy and hokey and everything, but he's at a crossroads at the end of that movie, and he's looking this way, and she tells him that way's California, that way's this way, that way's this way, and this way's back to my ranch or whatever. And he's just there with his water, and he has a decision to make, and the movie leaves off there. And I love that. I love the idea of just surviving because of it will be okay. And I believe that that is true in life. I believe that no matter what you're going through, if you just keep going, if you continue to survive. And this has only been my personal experience. Again, we were talking about mental health issues and what I don't deal with and
Mhm.
what I don't have to deal with. But for me, it is an incredibly powerful message. I found it to be true. I don't believe in fate. I don't believe in a higher power, but I do believe that humanity has a way of helping each other, whether or not we even know we're helping each other. Humanity has a way of, I do believe in, like, even here today on the show. Why am I on the show? Because I'm friends with Brianne, because we did a thing, and then we, connected and stayed in touch. And she thought of the idea for the show, which is brilliant. She thought, oh, Hector would be like, that's crazy. That's crazy. And I wasn't doing anything today, you know,
And my schedule was
my
clear.
schedule, but
Uh,
my schedule was also, this day was open in my calendar weeks ago when you asked me, hey, can you come and do this thing? And the day
right.
before that day, I didn't know what tomorrow, and then the tomorrow that brought was hey, Brienne's gonna reach out to you and be like, hey, can you be on this? And it's a stupid little tiny thing, this thing that we're doing and talking about, but little things, big things, they're very important to
Mhm.
me. It's all about people connecting with each other. The sun will rise, just keep swimming. Look at that, what the
Right.
people are putting in there. Absolutely. That's what film does too.
Mhm.
And Castaway is just a reminder of what's important in life. This guy loses everything and he just has to survive and learn how to get buff and catch a fish, and all of his like stressful job life goes away. He regrets not marrying Helen Hunt earlier. He regrets
Mhm.
going on this business trip at the last second. It puts things in perspective. That's the thing about
Mhm.
Castaway, is it puts everything in perspective for me. It makes me happy to be going through whatever I'm going through. It makes me happy to be looking forward to what is going to happen that I have no idea what's going to happen. There are people
Right.
who are going to be incredibly important in my life, probably. I haven't met them yet. That's exciting. That's really cool. I don't know what their face looks like. And they're going to be, I'm probably going to have kids one day. Maybe I'll have kids one day. I have no idea what they're going to look like, what they're going to act
Right.
like. That's very exciting and hopeful, I think. So that is the movie that I'm going to go with for the movie that inspires me, just about
Mhm.
life in general.
Yes. Now, what you're talking about for Castaway is the way that you see the movie is a similar way that I see the movie Sliding Doors. Have you seen
I
Sliding
haven't yet,
Doors?
with Gwyneth
Okay, Gwyneth
Paltrow. I
Paltrow,
haven't seen it
yes,
yet.
because it shows two different versions of what would happen if she made the subway
Yeah,
and what would happen if she didn't make the
I love
subway.
that.
I think about, like, it's kind of weird, but I think about Sliding Doors a lot.
Hmm.
Like, just because, and not because like it was a great movie or anything,
No,
but
the
just the
idea.
concept of, if I go this way home, what's going to be different about my life as if
Yeah,
I go another way home? Kind of like
yeah,
the butterfly effect.
absolutely,
Another movie that I really like,
absolutely.
even though it's
I saw one of my I saw some theater for the first time. I'm not really a big theater guy. I'm trying to get more into it, and I went to go
Mhm.
see Lin Manuel Miranda's first production,
Mhm.
In the Heights. I saw it up
Oh.
in California, a little bit north of here, a few weeks ago, and it's a story about a lot of different types of people in New York. And one of the characters, who is a Latino character, and I think maybe John Rocco will probably relate to this too, had a line in it that really stuck with me, which was, what if my parents didn't come to this country? What if I was born back where my parents were from? What kind of human would I be? I think about that all the time. The fact that my parents
Mhm.
came to San Diego specifically before I was born, and then I was born here. If they had decided to, if they met and fell in love, and then somehow magically I was still the sperm that made it through the thing, and I was born in Mexico,
Right.
I would be a 180-degree different human being, and that thought terrifies me. It's
Exactly.
terrifying. All of the things that deal with the machismo culture in my culture, and what my priorities would be, and
Mhm.
what I still like film, what I like.
Mhm.
Oh, it's really scary.
This is
I
why I poke holes in Back to the Future, because I'm like, "Uh-oh, how are they gonna conceive on the exact same time now that you've ruined things?"
exactly, exactly.
But I will go ahead and go because I love the
It's
movie so
magic. Sure,
much,
it's magical.
you know.
It's fate. You were the sperm that was fated to get into that egg, no matter what. Right.
I just
It's
think it would be hilarious if at some point in Back to the Future, like a different actor, Eric Stoltz comes
yeah.
back or something, like
I'm Marty.
shows up for a portion of the movie, and
Yeah.
he's like, but and it's Marty inside there, but you're like it's a different person
Yeah.
physically, just like in About Time. Did you see About Time?
No, I didn't see that one either.
That
Yeah.
one's really
I
good.
gotta watch it. That
Oh
time.
man,
Yeah.
that's a favorite time travel film for
What
me
what
for
is it that you
sure.
take away from sliding doors? That like what like you said that you
Oh,
just
just
like.
because like you see the two different journeys and at
Mm-hmm.
the end you're like which journey is the actual journey that she chose?
Mm-hmm.
And and it might not be the one that you wanted. And
But it's
so
still
then
your
and
journey.
but then
Yeah.
but it also kind of at the same time maybe it's not the one you wanted, but there's a hint of the other one is still like there's
Yeah.
still a possibility
Or
of
just like
other things
Nicolas Cage's
happening.
in The Family Man, like where it's like, I had a
Yes.
family, oh, but I don't, but I can still go have them, and hopefully that kid will still be born the
Right.
same. Like it's yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. Yeah, try not to think of the alternate. Okay, should we move on to the next question?
Sure.
I don't
Let's
want to
move on
keep
to the next
rambling.
question.
Okay,
The next question is, what is a film or scene from a movie that triggers a memory, perhaps painful,
this one
for you?
is a memory that I had when I was 5 years old, but it's so long past that it's not really traumatic to me anymore. But it was very traumatic when I was five, that I
Mhm.
had to deal with a film. But then it also set the stage for the man I am becoming today and my interest in film. So I like telling the story. Maybe y'all have heard it.
Okay. I probably haven't.
Okay.
Maybe.
Man, well,
We'll see.
you interrupt me, tell me if I have, but I'm still going to tell it to the
Yeah,
people
because
watching on the
there are
internet.
people that don't know.
So when I was 5 years old, it was 1993, and Jurassic Park came out. And my dad picked me up from school, took me that afternoon to go see the movie. He really wanted to see the movie. And at that time, I'm 5, so I love dinosaurs. This
Hmm.
is all real to me. This is magical. They're moving in herds. Like, I'm loving it. We get to the point where the Tyrannosaurus Rex breaks out and eats the lawyer off of the toilet,
Yes,
and I'm screaming, I'm crying, I'm really, really scared.
as you should.
As if I'm 5, I hide under the seat. I'm so
Hmm.
scared that my dad has to pull me out of the theater. I'm imagining I'm crying, and this is a story that I've told so many times now that I almost don't. I can't remember the memory, but I remember me telling it every year and
Hmm.
keeping it alive through because what's the like scientific fact, like we don't have any memories past 7 years or something, like something
Right. Like
depressing like
things
that.
start to drop off like each
Exactly. Like,
year,
we
right?
know that we were kids, but were we, or are we all
Yeah.
programmed robots? Anyway, it doesn't matter. So I
Program robots. And
whatever.
you remember more when you see like pictures and stuff. Like
Yes.
that triggers memories for you
Yes.
too.
So every time I see Jurassic Park now, it takes me back to this memory, because it also an event that happened the next day. I go to school the next day in kindergarten class, and I told all of my friends, um, "Hey, I saw the scariest movie ever made last night. It's called Jurassic Park." And they're all like, "Oh, wow." And I will never forget the kid who wasn't really a bully, but he was just like a tough kid named David, drops off of the monkey bars, walks over to me and my group of kids that are listening to me, and says, "Yeah, I saw that movie. It wasn't scary," and walks away. And just like
Right.
stole my thunder. All the kids turn to me and they're like, "What a sissy!" Like, and I'm just like, I had no response then.
Yeah.
And a couple of years later, when I was like in 4th grade or 5th grade, I'm like 9, 10 years old. Like, I
Hmm.
came to this realization that one of two things happened. And in both of those scenarios, I was sad for David. The first thing that could have happened was David was lying to appear
Right.
cool, in which case I'm like, okay, I feel sorry for him. I
Hmm.
feel sad for him. The second possibility was David was telling the truth, and I still felt bad for him because he was telling the truth. He did go see Jurassic Park. He's this 5-year-old kid, and it had no effect on him, and
Right.
it didn't. It was he wasn't scared of it, and I felt special because I realized this is what film is. That a man, Steven Spielberg, and a team of creative people wanted me to feel a certain thing, and he was able to reach through the movie screen and get me to feel terror. He was able to reach through the movie screen and get me to feel wonder or
Right.
love or hope or sorrow or whatever, and I felt special, and it made me want to work in movies. It made me want to be a storyteller. It was very, very important to me. And I realized that David is like a lot of people in the world who like
Right.
don't care about film or stories or art or whatever. And it made me sad. It really bummed me out. So then, like 20 years later, when I got out of college, when I was working in post production and visual effects, and I was helping to convert movies into 3D movies. I worked at a company that worked on Jurassic Park. Steven Spielberg converted it into 3D for over 9 months, and I got to work on it a little bit. I got to do a little bit of
Wow,
3D on it.
that's
So like
cool.
literally came full circle. And that was one of the reasons I kind of left that industry too, because I was like, well, I did everything. Like, this is
I'm
why
done now.
kind of done. I got my name in the credits of Iron Man 3. My name's in the credits of Iron Man 3 because I worked on that. So I'm like, good. I got my name in the credits of a Marvel movie. Kind of done.
Hmm.
But that triggers that memory of going to the movie, to the next day having David say I saw it and it wasn't scary, and then a few years after that just like thinking about storytelling and everything. So yeah, that's my Jurassic Park story.
I think it's interesting that both cases you feel sorry for him. There's
Yes.
never a case of, well, he sucks.
Yeah. There was I
Well,
was
when you were before that time,
exactly.
before you started to analyze it, but even after
Exactly.
you analyzed it, it wasn't like,
Hmm.
well, that guy sucks.
I still have that thought today. If I go see a movie and someone's like, it wasn't funny, I'm like, I feel bad for you. I feel bad that you missed
Hmm.
out on something that I thought was very funny for these specific reasons. I understand that
Right.
comedy is subjective, and it's about perspective. And, if you understand what it is that they're laughing at or with or whatever, it's good. I feel bad that I can go see a movie that is like, I think like comedian like Nick Swardston had a bit about it for like the first Transformers movie when Transformers came out in 2007. Where he's like, I went and saw Transformers and it was amazing, and everyone now is so cynical where they're like, sucked, sucked. And he's like, this would blow people's brains out of their head 50 years ago if you showed them
Yes.
this movie with like we're robot. I mean, it's magical. We don't know how they do it, and we're all so cynical and jaded. We're
Right.
like, that sucks.
Isn't that like the Louis C.K. bit where he's like, it has to go to space
Yeah.
first. It
Yeah.
has to wait a minute.
Yeah, where he's mad he doesn't get Wi-Fi in a plane, like,
Yes.
And again,
You didn't even know this existed
8
2
years
minutes
ago we didn't have this stuff. We're mad when our phones don't work, and it's like
Yes.
8 years ago we didn't have phones that work that well. Like, yeah, definitely, yeah. That's also, I guess, another movie that puts things in perspective for me. It's all about perspective. Yeah.
It is all about perspective. I think
Mhm.
what's interesting is I noticed a few things about comedy. You say it's subjective, which it is. And I think it was when I went to see Dodgeball
Yeah.
and I just was not laughing. I was like, I finally realized like this is not the kind of comedy that I like.
It's not for you.
Right. And
Yeah.
I still was able to I was like that wasn't I didn't think that was funny.
Right. See, that's a better
But
phrase. I didn't think that was funny.
right.
Because I don't think you can say that wasn't funny.
Right.
Because it's like,
People were definitely like
oh,
howling and I was like, I don't get it. Like
yeah.
why?
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
then I was like, we all have different, perspectives of what is funny.
It's so much fun to try and break that stuff down. When I was in college at this art school down in San Diego, it was when like Andy Samberg and everybody were on SNL. They were doing digital shorts, and it was I'm on a boat came
Hmm.
out along with like I think when I was in high school or after was like Dick in a Box, like all those
Right.
great things. I'm on a boat was a digital short that came out the following Monday. I went to class, and one of my teachers, shout out to Phil Hall, was sitting in the room, and he goes, "Did y'all see SNL?" He was like, he's from the South. He's like, "Y'all see SNL?" That was one of the funniest sketches. He goes, "I could teach a class about breaking down why that's funny." And I'll never forget him talking
Mm.
about it because it's true. We take it for granted, but why is it? Why was that funny? Well, it was poking fun at some of the opulence that is in hip hop culture and in videos, and some of the things that otherwise wouldn't be noteworthy. It's like, well, we're gonna kind of blow this out, and it's funny because these three white guys are doing it, and there's all these different things that
Hmm.
you can break down that I thought was fascinating to think about. And a lot of the times, and then I came to LA and I started taking like improv classes here and different things where you look at comedy and I can go back and my favorite sketches of my life. I love Saturday Night Live. I can look at, something as simple as like the Chris Farley, Patrick Swayze, Chippendale sketch. And now I think about it
Yes.
scientifically. I'm like, I know why that's funny scientifically. You know what I
Right.
mean? But there are still people that will look at that and be like, that's not funny. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
feel bad for you.
I
But that's
know.
okay, I guess. Like, what happened
Right.
in your life where that is not funny
Right.
to you? But I get
Yeah.
it. So
The same thing with my parents too. Like I was laughing at the Royal Tenenbaums and they were like, this
yeah,
is sad.
right.
And I was like,
Because
no,
it
it's not
is.
sad. It's hilarious.
It's
Like,
both. And it's
it's
both.
both. It
Yeah.
is. It's a dark comedy.
Hmm.
But then I was like, we don't have the same humor, mom and
I
dad.
know. I know.
Sad. And
I know.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, like, my dad was like, I'm done with this movie. And I was like,
Yeah.
no, dad,
It's so
I
yeah.
love this.
Totally. That's a whole nother thing too. British humor. That's a whole nother thing.
Oh,
Like
yes.
I really like it and appreciate it. And sometimes there's things that are so British in its humor that I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't find this funny, but I get why it's funny still. Like
Right.
that's really interesting. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, and I agree with Jack Shipley, by the way. This is a real treat to get to know about the real Hector Navarro.
Thanks, Jack. I think I'm pretty real everywhere else I go, but you're right. I'll stop being fake with everything else I do. I'll stop.
I think he means because you're very serious on, shows like movie fights or TV fights
Sure.
or Tough.
Very
So
intense.
there you go.
This is all about letting our walls down and being vulnerable and being honest and stuff. And yeah, I'm talking about silly stuff, but it comes from a place of being honest. I hope.
Yes, that's
Cool.
what this show is here for. Let's get
Okay.
to our final question, which is what is a film that has helped you through difficult times?
Speaking of comedy, speaking of hit or miss movies,
Oh,
hit or miss
hey.
comedies. My rainy day movie, my feeling sad movie that I put on to make myself feel better is 2007's Hot Rod,
Okay,
starring
I
Andy
love Hot
Samberg.
Rod. All
Okay,
right, good.
okay. A lot of people would watch that and go, "This is the dumbest movie." Do you know what I mean? And
Sure.
that I tell people,
And then you're like, wait, what about that scene in the woods when he's
yeah,
dancing? Like, how is that
come
not
on,
funny?
come on, absolutely. That's Flashdance, right? That's that whole.
It's
It's
a
it's
parody on
beautiful
that. And
homage to that. I worked at a Blockbuster for years.
as did
Kids,
I.
kids remember Blockbuster? You did
The
really?
greatest people worked at
The greatest
Blockbuster.
people:
You and
Quentin
I,
Tarantino,
Paul Shear.
Paul Scheer, Topher Grace, and Hector Navarro and Brianne Chandler.
That's right.
I when I worked at Blockbuster, this movie came out on DVD, and I remember the way that I would explain it or recommend it to people because we would get asked that all the time. Is this
Right.
good? And you're like, you should
Well, let's
know.
sit
Like
down for 5 minutes or
I
so and
also get
find out a little bit about yourself.
I also get frustrated when people go to the
Oh, hey,
oh
someone's here. I'm
oh
not going to be answering the door though.
okay okay. I also go to the I'm frustrated with people who go to the movies and don't know what movie they're going to watch. Where they go up to the front and they're like,
Mm,
"What's good?" Or they ask the person. I'm like, "What kind of a life do
yes.
you have
I've
where
done
you've got
that
2 hours?" I
where
can't do it.
I've only done that where I go and I'm like, I'm going to watch whatever is coming up next. The
Really?
roulette, movie roulette.
Okay, that fine,
Mm-hmm.
but to go and be like to ask the poor person who's selling you a ticket, like, "What's good?" as if they're going to be able to give you a recommendation based on your life and
Right.
I feel like it's usually older people that are like, "I don't know," and like this poor
Yes.
teenager's like, I like the new, Matt Damon movie or whatever. And if they don't like it, then it's, oh, that kid had a bad recommendation. Anyway, Hot
Right.
Rod. I used to tell people at Blockbuster, there's a part about halfway through this movie. I'll just say the phrase "cool beans." If you're on board with that part, then you will love this movie. If you think it's stupid, stop
Mm-hmm.
right there. Stop watching it. Like that is a perfect definition of what that movie is for me.
Mm-hmm.
It is I recommended it to people who have been feeling sad. It's really silly. It's really goofy. It reminds me of hanging out with my friends, having a good time with my friends. It was a movie that was originally intended for Will Ferrell, this stuntman
Mm.
comedy called Hot Rod, or maybe something else, this sort of like Evil Knievel spoof
Yeah.
for
I
Will
might
Ferrell.
not have liked it as much.
Yes, and they gave it to they, meaning like whoever comedic powers it be, knew that these Lonely Island people were up and comers. Andy
Mm-hmm.
Samberg was an up and comer, and Will Ferrell and whoever their team like gave it to these guys, and they like Lonely Island it, like they went over the script and added the things that were them, and it just reminds me of hanging out with my friends and cracking each other up, or it
Mm-hmm.
reminds me of like coming up with sketch ideas and actually writing sketches or going and shooting sketches. I love that feeling, and it makes me really happy, and it's not too dark, and it's Ian McShane's character like is sick, but it's not too heavy. It's endlessly quotable. There's nothing better than relating to somebody about that movie, finding a person who loves that movie, then you're like,
Right.
oh, okay, cool, you're cool, I can,
You hold your breath. Like, have you
yes.
seen Hot Rod?
Right. And if they're like, yeah, I think it was
Yeah,
dumb,
I
you're like,
saw that.
ugh. It's not necessarily a deal breaker, but it's really like, it's just
I
easier to meet
know.
people who love the thing you love, especially if it's really, really silly. So
We all
that's
just want other people to love the things we love. I mean,
yeah, but I want
really.
but I think that in the past couple of years, I've realized I want people to love it themselves. I don't want to. I never wanted to
That's
like
true. You don't want to force
force
it.
for. Listen, I've been in relationships. I'm a young man and I'm a dork and I love this kind of stuff. The whole superhero thing. I've been in relationships that like literally when it ended or afterwards, the my ex said to me like, "You ruined movies for me," because I just like watched too many movies and I can rewatch the same ones over and over again. And some people aren't wired that way,
Hmm.
and I can go and sit through a crappy movie and I know it's crappy, but I'm like, I gotta watch this. I gotta watch. I put myself through that torture.
Right.
Someone's like, have you seen Friday the 13th? And I'm like, no, now I'll watch all of them. Like that's the type of OCD person I am.
Uh-huh.
So I really try. I don't do that anymore. Um, that's really, really nice, Francisco. Thank you. But I try to, like, again, I feel bad if a
Hmm.
person goes and sees Hot Rod and it's like nothing on them. I'm
Hmm.
not trying to be like, I probably could explain why it's funny. Again, having that like that knowledge and the insight as to what makes comedy comedy and for what type of people it will work for, and I can probably explain this scene is funny because it is an homage to Flashdance. This scene is funny because it's a jump cut and you don't expect Ian McShane after he answers, "What are you going to pay for? The surgery is $50,000." You don't expect to jump cut to Andy Samberg going, "No," like so. You don't expect it, and comedy comes from things that are
Right.
unexpected,
Yes.
and I can probably break it down, but if you're not there with it, you're not like it's just not for you. There's everything else for you.
Right.
I hope that people enjoy animation for the same reasons that I enjoy, because I don't
Hmm.
see animation as something that is for kids. And like my
No,
father
totally
did, my
not.
parents did. I have friends who still do, and I think like Adam on the concession stand, he said like I didn't used to look at animation the way that you guys do, but Augustine and I went to that same animation school. That's how we met. And just talking about it the way we talked about it, he's like, oh, okay. I hope that people find the things that they love themselves and for their own reasons. And I think that that you get to a point as a movie viewer where you can appreciate anything, any movie you're watching at any
Mhm.
point. You can find things to love about it. You can understand who made it and who it's for. You know, you basically see the lines in the Matrix. Like you know, you can see uh, uh, everything that led up to you sitting there watching this movie, whether it's good or bad. And I think that we can all appreciate other people loving film, and it's never like,
Yes.
you know, your passion is wrong. You don't you're
Right.
not liking movies correctly. It's like, forget
Yes.
about it. Yes, of course you are.
That's why certain shows are hard for me because like people and people that are on the show say, "Oh, this is difficult for me because I'm fighting against something that I love." Like if
Mm,
you're on movie fights and like you
sure.
have your selection
Oh,
of what you pick, but then someone else selects something that
that's
you
brutal.
also love and now you have to fight against it and
What's
you're
the
like,
crappiest
"Wait."
thing? And they're all three crappy, and like, you know, yeah, those are always tough to do. Those fun things. It's just acting. As soon as it's done, I
Right.
always go like, like you were right. I didn't even like the thing. You know, like I always
Yes,
need
of
that little release.
course.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to go back for just a second to
Mm-hmm.
read what Francisco said because you had commented that it was
Yes,
nice. And I want to make sure that those people that are watching this on the replay know what he said. It says, Hector, I love your insight and perspective on things. I also care about like film, comics, and comedy.
great,
So
great.
now
I
we're
think
all up to speed on
we're
that.
all up to speed.
So
Absolutely.
that's
Thank you,
excellent.
Francisco. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Hector, for it. Unless you have any last thoughts on Hot Rod that you want to share
Uh,
before we leave.
gosh, man, if you guys haven't seen MacGruber or Pop Star Never Stop Never Stopping, which I don't think
Gotta see him. I gotta see
anybody has
him.
seen those two films, they are, I think, like they are they have moments of brilliance,
Hmm.
moments of brilliance, like Leonardo da Vinci level brilliance in those films. And I think there's also moments of brilliance in Hot Rod, but it's just a silly, fun movie. And I hope that people enjoy. I know that people enjoy that for that reason. Like there are movies that I enjoy that I know people don't enjoy on that same level, like the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which you just
Yes,
watched recently,
I did
right in the past
for the
week or so,
second time.
for the
Hmm.
second time,
I mean,
from when you were like
first time when
a
I was
kid. Yeah,
9.
when you were 9. And
And
I
it still holds up, guys.
it
I think it's great.
great, solid
I
script.
can't say I was surprised, but I was a little surprised
Yeah,
mainly because like, when you get into big costumes and stuff and is the
absolutely.
dialogue going to work?
Absolutely. See, I watched that movie, and that movie can also make me cry with like a puppet rat saying like, "All fathers care for their sons." I'm like, it's real, it's real. And there are people who will never appreciate that as much as I do. There are people who will never love certain things as much as I love it.
Hmm.
Again, because it's just all my life up to that moment.
Right.
But I think that Hot Rod is pretty much across the board. Like everybody gets it. Everybody knows what it is. No one's like, Hot Rod is this incredible commentary on the Industrial Revolution. Like nobody is bringing this other extra insight to it. It is what it is. It's great. But
Right.
go watch MacGruber and go watch Pop Star Never Stop Never Stopping. Great satire, great commentary on the music industry, on pop star. And anyway,
I
go
need
watch
to
those.
watch those because I
Yeah,
have not seen them.
good time.
I have catching up to do.
Mm-hmm.
Did want to let everyone know at home that if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990 for $0 or
1990.
1990.
1990
Yes, did I
for
say
$0?
zero
Nice.
dollars if you have Prime? It's
Nice.
not technically $0 because you have to have Prime,
Right.
but
I
if
think
you
that
have Prime,
I'm
it's
so
not
dumb.
extra.
I'm so dumb. I think Netflix is free. When I see a
I
movie on
think
Netflix,
so.
I'm like, this is free. I'm gonna watch it. And like, I still have Netflix through the mail, where they
Oh,
send me the
nice,
disc because it's
nice.
certain things that aren't available on
Hmm.
streaming, and
Hmm.
I don't want to go through the channels of looking for something illegally. And
Right.
and I'm a guy who buys movies, but there's sometimes I'm like, would I buy this movie? And I want to rewatch it just to make sure.
Hmm.
And so for me, when they send me a disc through the mail, I think it's free. People are like, why
Right.
are you watching like the Flash from 1990, Hector? Like it may be on Amazon or something else, but I'm
Right.
like, because it's free. It's Netflix sent it to me for free. I'm making my way through it, and they're like, it's not free. You're paying like $15 a month or whatever or more to
Right.
do that. I'm like, that's free. I don't care. Yeah, I'm
Right.
dumb.
Right. So where can the other patients find you,
Mm,
Hector?
indeed. You can find me on the internet at Hector is funny. Um, I guess that's it. Look for if you guys are not subscribed on YouTube, you don't have to be. Maybe check it out. DC Entertainment, like DC Comics. They have a bunch of cool stuff they put on YouTube, and I will be appearing on their videos soon.
DC All Access? Is
DC
that
All
I
Access.
saw you on
I
one
get to
DC All
talk about their TV
Access.
shows. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome. I'm
Yeah.
glad you're over there.
Yeah, it's a blast. There's good dudes and dudettes over there too. So yeah.
There's
So
also this YouTube show. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's called Superhero News.
yes, I have heard of
Really
this.
good.
I have
You
I've
would be excellent on it.
I have appeared on it frequently,
Okay.
often, and maybe I will maybe probably keep doing that. Yeah. Thank you, Brienne. Thanks.
Yes.
Look at that. If you guys like superhero stuff, and we have a great weekly show where we break down the news, but we also talk about when the occasion arises what we're talking about right now. We talk about life. We talk about why we love the things that we love. We talk about what we want to learn about. We talk about why certain things matter to us socially from like superhero movies and stuff. We talk about social issues when the occasion arises, and it's great. And it's great, and the audience is great, and you guys are great. Thanks for watching live, everybody.
Yes. Thank
Look
you,
at
everyone
that.
that's in the chat right now. It's very
Thank you,
exciting.
Eric. Said Eric Monroe says Hector was great on Flash and Friends. Thanks so much. That was a lot of fun. I was sitting next to
Oh,
Jason Mewes. That was a trip.
awesome. That's a new show on Screen
That
Junkies
was a
Plus,
trip.
right?
Yes, yes,
Joe
yes, yes.
Starr,
Mm-hmm.
Roxy Stryer, Jason Mewes are the
Mm-hmm.
hosts,
Mm-hmm.
and you were a guest.
Yeah.
Nice.
Just talking about Flash. A great show.
Awesome. I love it. Did they actually dress up? Because I saw some
They did, not on
costumes.
the episode I was on, but they
Okay.
did dress up. Yes,
Okay.
they did.
Maybe for some promo
Mm-hmm.
shots or
I'm
something like
disappointed that
that.
John Roca's not on those stairs right there. He
Oh
said
yeah,
he
he
would
said
be.
he would be here. He said he's watching.
Where are
So
you,
we'll
John?
say, "Hey John, maybe you're watching but you're not in the chat cuz maybe you're listening on your phone. Who
Maybe.
knows?" That's what
Maybe.
I'm going to guess.
Mm-hmm.
But that would have been hilarious if he was on
Would
the
have
stairs in
been
the
great.
background.
Would have been great.
You can find me all day on Twitter, unfortunately, at Miss Movies.
You have a good Twitter. You tweet
Thanks.
good.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
That means a lot to me.
Mm-hmm.
Cisco just followed me, so I'm really excited about
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm. He follows everybody.
What he follows like
I'm sorry.
1,100
I'm sorry.
people.
I'm pretty sure I'm being followed by Cisco.
You
Like
should
Thong
be.
Song Cisco?
Yes.
Pretty sure I'm being
All
followed.
right, you let me know.
I'll
I
let you
want to
know.
know. But I
Maybe
thought, whoa, that's
maybe not.
exciting.
Yeah. He's making a comeback. He just needs everybody on Earth on board before he does. So it's exciting.
Oh, he's amazing. And that's about it. So thank you for joining us today on Film Therapy. We'll see you for our next session. Could be, I believe, Stacey Howard's going to be my next
I like her. She's great.
patient. Also, Danny Fernandez. I think I have two sessions next
Cool.
week. So
Cool.
look out for that.
It's gonna be good.
Yay.
Thank you so much for having me. This was
Thank
great.
you.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
And thank you all for joining us. Bye. 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 Bye.